Okay, that's right. Okay. Alright, so this is the pre-application workshop for PRE2023-00023. It is October 25th, 2023, and we are starting a little bit late at 6:15. And we're here at the Fair Oaks Community Center in North Fair Oaks for community input. Alright, so how the workshop will start is that we're going to do our staff introduction. So that will be San Mateo County staff and then the applicant staff. So that would be Cal Water. And then we'll do a project overview. Applicant will do their presentation and then we'll have public commenting. So to start, my name is Tiffany G. I am the project planner here and I am from the County of San Mateo. Yeah.
My name is Summer Burleson. I'm a senior planner with the County of San Mateo. Do you want to go ahead?
Oh, okay. I'm Nicholas Matunga. I'm the project manager for this project from California Water Service.
Hello, my name is Mary Keene. I'm the cabinet delivery manager from Cal Water.
And I'm Dawn Smithson. I'm the district manager for Cal Water District.
Okay. Alright, so summary of the application process. So we do have to do a pre-application. It's required by section 6415 of the zoning regulation. And the purpose of this pre-application is to foster early community involvement and input on major development projects like this one. It is only for informational purposes. This does not imply that we are approving or rejecting any projects. There's no project into the county right now. It's purely for input to see what you guys want to say about it. Quick project description, and Cal Water will explain a little bit more. Cal Water Bear Gulch is proposing a use permit to develop a new water facility site. It will consist of 2 buildings and small accessory structures housing a new well, water treatment systems, and a pump station. The proposal seeks to increase Cal Water's reliability in providing water to its Bay Area district customers and address potential shortages during drought. Alright, the project area, it is located in parcel 060-062-040. And it is, the general plan designation is single family residential and the zoning designation is R1S73, which is for 1 family residence. Some applicable regulations for this project are from the zoning regs. Chapter 6 R1 districts, Chapter 20 S73 districts, Chapter 24 use permits, and Chapter 22 general provision and exceptions, which covers 6415, which we're complying with by doing this meeting here. If you have any questions about this, you can raise your hand if you're in Zoom or ask Karen. The use permits, basically, if it is for a facility for utilities, it can be allowed in any zone as long as it's reasonable to supply water or electricity, that utility, to the area. The next steps are agency referrals. We've actually already referred them this project, so we're waiting for them to review it. The public workshop, which we're doing right now, and then a summary letter, which will take into account comments the reviews from the different agencies like fire and building and such. Let me.
Okay, with them.
Alright, so the development, a summary of the development review process, we have the major development pre-application review, which we're in the middle of right now. That this is this project, which is just for the public workshop, so not a project yet, not a use permit. Then the submittal of the formal and complete use permit application. So they'll get their summary letter, they'll look at it, see what they have to do, and then they'll submit to us. Then there will be an environmental review because it is a project under CEQA. And then we'll have the North Fair Oaks Community Council meeting. And they will make recommendations to the zoning hearing officer, which is the decision maker of this project. And that is it for our presentation, so I will hand it over to Nicholas. Oh, yes.
Can you repeat who the decision maker is for the project?
It's the zoning hearing officer, ZHO.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And is there a name associated with that office?
Let's just like, oh, the zoning hearing officer's name? It's Joe Leclerc.
Thank you.
Sorry, are you ready? You can tell me next slide and I'll put it for you.
Oh, yeah, which one?
Okay, I was just gonna give a quick intro. Actually, should I stand or where should I?
That's how you would write them.
Okay, so I'm Dawn Smithson. I'm the district manager for the Bear Gulch District for Cal Water. As I mentioned earlier, I just wanted to say a few things before we get started, because sometimes people are a little confused as to who we are. Some people think we're part of the city, some people think we're part of the state. We're actually a private water company. And some people think we're like a big private water company, like PG&E or things like that. And actually, we actually are a fairly large water company, but we're made up of small districts, kind of like where we are right now. Each district has its own presence. So I'm the district manager for this district. I live in the area. Our office is here in Menlo Park. Our field yard is in Atherton. And every district, we have 28 districts in California. Every district has their own local management and people who we are here. You can come to the corner in our office and see our faces whenever you want. We're not nameless, we're not faceless, and that's the most important thing that we like to communicate to our customers. One of the really great things that I think is wonderful about Cal Water though, and being part of a larger company, is we have access to amazing resources, and that's, you know, a network of engineers that we can tap into when we have interesting projects like this. So for example, a well has not been drilled in Bear Gulch before, but we have many engineers who have drilled wells in other cities around the state who are familiar with how to do things in the appropriate way, and they're just very experienced on what's necessary. So I just wanted to clarify that a little bit. It can be a little confusing sometimes. So Nicholas is one of our engineers, and he's worked in many cities and many districts for Cal Water and has a ton of experience as like his manager. Mary, who I've worked before, I actually started my career in engineering as well. So I just wanted to say I have a lot of confidence in these individuals, and I just wanted to pass that information along to you before we get started. I'm going to turn over to Nicholas for his presentation.
Awesome, thank you, Dawn. I'm going to stand up too, because yeah, so thank you all for coming and joining this meeting. I appreciate it on a personal level. I feel like it's good to see that people are investing in their communities, especially for projects like this. And with Dawn, you have a great district manager and operations team. So yeah, looking forward to talking about this project today. Like I I said, my name is Nicholas Matunga, I'm a professional engineer in the state of California, and project manager for the new well project in the Berry Village district. Next slide. So, today's agenda, we'll be going over the background of the project and the justification for why we want to install this new well, drill the new well, what the benefits will be for the district and the residents in the service area, what the project scope is, the new well location, where it's located, and the preliminary design. Finally, we'll talk about the schedule of the project and when we can expect it to be in service. Please. So the background of this project is that the Bear Gulch district is 90% served by wholesale water from SFPUC, and then the 10% is remaining is surface water that's treated in the district from the Bear Gulch reservoir. So that treated surface water supply isn't available during dry years and can impact the reliability in the system. The cost of SFPUC water has increased significantly in recent years, and so that has many factors to do with it: drought, resources, and the increase in population in the Bay Area. And so that being our wholesaler, as prices increase for us, I guess passed on to the ratepayers. So we want to mitigate that as much as we possibly can. Finally, there's a lack of alternative resources in the district. As I just mentioned, there's the surface water from the reservoir, which is only 10%, and then the rest is coming from our wholesaler. So if we can add an alternative water supply like a well, that's going to give us some operational flexibility and get us through tough situations. Dawn mentioned one of those tough situations in the past. I don't know if you wanted to speak to that.
So Nicholas, we talked about this. I said I might interrupt him at some point just to add the local knowledge and information, but this well has been in our thoughts for a long time. Every time we hit a drought, every time something comes up with water resources, our allocated supply from SFPUC starts getting discussed if that is going to be limited. So we can't anticipate that that's going to be there forever. We really need to diversify the water that we have in our system so we can make sure that we're continuing to provide safe, reliable, clean water at a reasonable cost. The thing that really prompted us to start really looking at this hard is a few years ago, SFPUC, someone made a mistake and they let raw water into the treated water pipeline that got sent to all of us on the peninsula. We knew where this slug of raw water was, so it's not treated, it's not chlorinated, it's not disinfected. We were tracking it as it came through. Thank God, it was during a time of year, which is winter, that we had the treatment plant running. If this had happened during summer, we wouldn't have had this option. We pushed all of our treated water down to where those interconnects were, and we were able to shut those interconnects and keep our customers from getting water that could have potentially made them sick. To me, that was a wake-up call. If that would have happened, we need to have additional sources of supply so that if something happens with SFPUC, we can shut off those interconnects. Right now, it's difficult to do, and we can still provide water for our customers. And then now, upcoming, we have some maintenance that's going to be happening at SFPUC on their lines. There will be periods of time where we have to shut down the interconnects, and we're working with them proactively because it's planned maintenance. But those types of situations only intensify the examples of why we really do need additional sources of supply in the district. Too heavily dependent on somebody, on an organization that could potentially take it away at some point for various reasons.
Thank you, Don. Appreciate that.
Brian hadn't been able to chat.
Okay, are you good? Okay, we'll go to the next slide then. So to build off what Don just mentioned, we'll talk about the justification for the new well. Like we just talked about, we're excessively reliant in this district on SFPUC's water supply. And so this new well will support future population growth. It'll improve system reliability and redundancy by providing a local source of supply aside from the existing surface water. It'll provide supply during SFPUC shutdowns, like Don just mentioned. And then it'll provide supply during a drought or reduce the impacts of the drought. So during dry years, we don't pull or aren't able to produce our own water from the treatment plant. We'll have this well that'll be able to produce our own water supply in the district. And finally, it'll offset the expensive and limited supply of SFPUC water. Yes, question to that?
Yeah, you referred to variable district, could you define what constitutes a district so that?
Yes, absolutely. I'll let that-
That would be me.
Yeah,
So the Bearville District serves, portions of Menlo Park, about half. Atherton, Portola Valley, and Woodside, some unincorporated, Portola Valley, and some unincorporated Redwood City, which is where we are. Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, Bearville, the name isn't very.
yeah, it's not intuitive.
Yes.
Yeah, great question. Thanks for asking. Yeah, next slide, please. So the scope of the project is to drill, develop, and equip a new well that will produce flow of 120 gallons per minute, or 400 to 800 acre feet per year. And then install new equipment, including a building, pump and motor, and electrical equipment to make that well functional and be able to distribute into the system. Finally, install a chloramination and iron and manganese treatment facility to make sure the water is potable and up to the Division of Drinking Water standards. So chloramination is disinfection, and then iron and manganese treatment was based on local wells in the area in Palo Alto, areas of Redwood City. During the well siting analysis, those wells have shown iron and manganese, so we're predicting that this well, when we drill it, will also need that level of treatment to remove the iron and manganese from the water. Yes.
Could you tell me more about 120 gallons per minute, like what is that? How fast, slow, what is?
Yeah, so yeah, so it's a conservative estimate for the flow rate that we expect from this well. 120 gallons per minute. I'm trying to think of a good analogy for that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's, well, you think a 50-gallon drum, right?
Yeah.
So 2 or 3 of those a minute.
Just how many houses would that serve for the going? Maybe you'll get to later in terms of how much this is expected to offset the SFPUC.
Like how much is it per day?
We have that there.
0.35, yeah, 0.35 to 0, so 0.7 million gallons per day, so at the high end, 700,000 gallons per day.
Okay.
So we can look that up. I don't have those conversions, and to be honest, every house uses a different amount depending on how many people live there and their irrigation and their needs. So it's a little bit hard to say exactly. This is based on estimated, maybe other wells in the area. Obviously, we don't know how much water we're gonna get until we drill it, and we would hope for more. I mean, we always hope for more, right?
Let me ask another way, about how much do you purchase from SFPUC on a daily basis?
I have to look that up. I don't have that number right off my head. But to let you know, how much are we paying for SFPUC water right now? It's like, I don't want to speak and say something that's wrong, but to put it into perspective, treating water from our treatment plant, flowing that water from the Santa Cruz Mountains to our reservoir, running it through our treatment plant with chemicals is probably about 20%, I want to say. I'm estimating, I don't have those numbers, of what we pay for the same amount of water for SFPUC. So it's very expensive water.
I think that we would be more concerned about the amount of water, not necessarily the cost. But the amount of water that we're trying to get out of the well, if I'm hearing you guys correctly, I also would like to know that. So is there a percentage of the water that you hope to get from that well in relation to the total that you provide to your company?
Well, obviously, we hope it to be as large a percentage as possible. We'll see what nature gives us.
So what's the time, or what's the?
I'm sorry.
You're estimating right now about 100 or 400, 800 acre feet of water per year. So today you obviously have some number that you serve, correct?
We have 16,800 services in the district.
Not the house, but like how much water do you supply on a yearly basis?
I'd have to look that up. I'm sorry to be prepared to answer that question today.
All right,
Because I think it would be just nice for the residents to know kind of what percentage overall of water you expect to get from this source versus maybe the PUC as a source.
So, this is going to be an extremely small percentage of the overall. When you think that 90% of our supply in a given year, and even more in drought years comes from SFPUC. For the last, I wanna say 3-ish years, 100% has come from SFPUC, and that's what makes us nervous.
right, so this will reduce it from 100%, 90% to 85? Or,
I mean, probably 100 to maybe 99%, but the point is that now we're not 100%. And these processes take a long time, and once we just start getting opportunities as they come along, and over time, we're in a situation that's better off than when we started. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I would like to mention that, if they have, if you guys have comments and we don't have answers yet, you can use a comment card and we can give those comments to them so that they can find the answers for you. There might not be all of the answers today, it's mostly to present the project and get your input. So whether that be questions that are unanswered or questions that are answered today, or just comments.
I just clarify, so you're not sure how much water there is? You're not sure what you're going to get?
Not exactly, no. There's estimates, that are based off of wells that are, pulling from the same aquifer. And that's where that number is coming from, and that's where these ranges, that's why these ranges are kind of large, so we.
So there are other wells drawing from the same aquifer?
Correct, yes. There's some in Redwood City, Palo Alto, yeah, yeah.
From other.
From a drill in unincorporated North Narrows and give the water to Woodside and Portola Valley.
Oh.
And then the.
Yeah, that water,
You know, it doesn't seem cheap, it's. Maybe you could go state, right?
correct. So where we're looking to drill
Yes,
is where there's water being.
but you just said there's other.
Yes, in this area, so as far as Woodside, Portola Valley, you're getting into geomorphology that doesn't have aquifers like we have here.
Right.
So we hired geologists to help us identify where we have the most potential to find water in the aquifer. This amount of water wouldn't make it past the customers in this area to Woodside and Portola Valley. That is not, it's going to be used in this area, blended, I'm sure, with SFPUC water, or possibly even the reservoir water.
So you're not filling the need, putting shipping adjustments.
This absolutely would not be able.
Thank you for clarifying.
No, thank you for asking, because I wouldn't know how to address that.
We have a question from Nisi, you can unmute and ask.
Hi, my name is Meski. I just have a question. My question is, I'm hearing this project might be a very good one, helpful for our future water supply. But my question is, why did you pick this specific plot of land? We live on the same block with this specific land, and I'm very much worried for myself and for my children, for my family, because this will increase our exposure to chemicals and environmental hazard, and it's really a high risk thing for our the health of our family and our neighborhood. So why did you pick this land in this populated area of Redwood City? This is in between residential houses. Why you didn't move away where there is no houses? This is basically my question. Why you came in between houses? This is very high risk project. So can you please answer me that?
So I can address that as well. So first of all, I want to address the high risk. This isn't really high risk. There will be some disinfection. It's the chlorine that we bring. is what's gonna be on site. So there will be some chemicals, but not at levels that are even considered hazardous. But we, meet and exceed, all regulatory standards. I see that we have some doubters, but, the reason why we chose this plot of land is because it was available. And it was in an area where the, geologist said that there would be water in the aquifer. Statewide, we have tons and tons, dozens and dozens of wells in residential neighborhoods. It is deemed to be safe, and they're good sizes for what we're hoping to accomplish. And then it's right there for our customers as well. So it's not, I know it's unusual for us here in the Bear Gulch district, but it's not unusual in general.
Why not in Menlo Park, Atherton, or Colorado Valley? Why not in other places that are fewer houses? This is the most highly, more densely populated area in this peninsula. So I'm just wondering
Yeah.
why is that offers more room so that it's not right up against.
Yeah. Well, because it goes back to the geology report that we got on where the aquifer is this area has soil that's influenced by, by the, San Francisco Creek. We've been looking for years and years for a piece of property that would come open, that was available for us to purchase, that was a reasonable, and this is the one.
Oh, wait, this person on Zoom has their hand up first.
Okay.
Yeah. So, Naomi, you can unmute yourself.
Yeah, question for me is, you're, saying that there will be lots of, like, so gallons that would be pumped. What is the consideration for, like, sinkhole? You know, I mean, yeah, residents have wells, but it's not the amount of water that you guys would be pumping. So my concern is sinkhole to the property, like, our homes, will they be sinking? Well, what would happen to that line on top of that? Also, what kind of smells will be coming from your place? You know, will there be like a sulfur smell there? And also the noise of the machinery of the pump and that kind of stuff. What?
I heard smells and lights.
Naomi, can you repeat the beginning because we couldn't hear it? Also, after this comment, could you guys hold your comments to after the end of the presentation, just because some of the questions are in the presentation, so like where it is and stuff, and like there's some screening that will, so we can look at the site plan just. But we'll just take Naomi's question and then we'll take yours after, okay? If that's all right. Naomi, can you repeat your question, just because in the beginning, I don't know, it just sounded blurry.
Sorry,
We
I
can
think
hear
you can
very
hear me.
well.
Can you hear me a little better?
Yes.
Yes.
Can't hear you guys anymore.
We can hear you. Can you hear
Okay,
us?
can you hear me better now?
Yes.
Unfortunately, I can't. Okay, so if you can hear me, my question was, as far as the pumping, I mean, the amount of water that's being pumped, right? My worry would be like sinkholes. I mean, there could be wells, residential wells, but they're not pumping nearly the amount of water that you guys are considering pumping. Also I was saying the noise of the pumps, how much noise would we have? Also any smells that would be coming out of this. You know, I've heard a lot like sulfate and sometimes there's smells that smells like rotten eggs. So, those are some of my concerns.
You want to, or do you want me to?
Yeah, I can address some of those things. So
And-
am I allowed to add a little bit on this?
Can you wait until Nicholas answers, Naomi's question?
Okay.
So with regards to sinkholes, our wells are designed to have, around the well, it's stabilized with gravel packing, and stainless steel screens, so that wouldn't be an issue, I guess, in the immediate vicinity of the well. With regards to the drawdown itself, or when we design a well, we're making sure that we're producing a reasonable drawdown in the aquifer, that's not gonna impact the health and life of the aquifer, which would include the soil conditions, and impacts of sinkholes, so that wouldn't be a problem. With regards to smell, yes, there will be liquid ammonium sulfate on site for carbonation, but that is not an odorless, or I mean, it is an odorless gas. It doesn't even actually produce gas, it's a non-volatile liquid, so there's not going to be any smells resulting from any of the chemicals on site. Also, the quantity of these chemicals that we're going to have on site is very minimal. So yeah, there won't be smells coming from the well. Finally, noise. There will be a motor, and a motor is good to make noise. So it's an electric motor, it's not diesel or gas, but there will be some noise coming from an electric motor, but it's inside of a building, and shouldn't be too impactful to the neighbors, I would say.
And the building is designed with acoustical damping to specifically for that purpose.
Yeah.
So, Elaine, we're going to, you can raise your hand, but we want to finish the presentation first, just so they can get through and you guys can look at the site plan and see what's actually going to happen. And then we'll call on you afterwards. But I think there's 2 people in the audience that are before you, so keep your hand up, please. So that we remember that you have a question. Elaine. Thank you.
All right, yeah, we can go to the next slide. So this is the proposed location on the corner of Park Avenue and Fifth Street, in unincorporated Redwood City. It's 503 Fifth Avenue. There was an existing residential structure there that has since been taken down, as you can see in this aerial view. And so, yeah, that's kind of it, but we'll get into details on the next slide. So here we have the preliminary site plan with the Fifth Avenue and Park Street shown. So we've got a 20-foot setback on the property adjacent to the streets. The new well location is here, and we are maintaining a 50-foot distance from the property lines on 3 sides, a little less than 50 feet on the Plan View north side. There's inside the building going to be the well and pump itself, decant return pump, which is going to the backwash tank, and then a blending booster pump, which goes to the blending tank. And that's how we're blending water that's coming from SFPUC that's in our system now with the water that we're pumping from the well, to make sure we're having consistent water quality conditions across the system.
Are you saying 55 volts or 1.5, 15 feet?
50.
55.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. So that's one building, and on the other building, we have our instrumentation and chemical storage. So caustic soda, that's part of the iron manganese treatment, so good filters. And then ammonium sulfate, liquid ammonium sulfate, and sodium hypochlorite, otherwise known as bleach, low concentrations, is going to be used for the chloramination process, which is disinfection. Chloramination is what we use to disinfect our water as opposed to chlorine, because it doesn't produce disinfectant byproducts. I have another example of how we're producing safe drinking water for our customers. Iron manganese treatment. Iron manganese are a secondary MCL contaminant. but we do treat for it, and these filters here, granulated activated carbon filters will remove iron and manganese from the water that we're pumping from the well. Again, we're planning for that level of treatment because of wells in the area have produced sustained iron and manganese contaminants in that water. So backwash tanks and blending tanks are at the back, 16 feet high, 12-foot diameter on each tank. Again, 20-foot setback from the adjacent property to those tanks. We have a surge tank located here that's going to, when the well's pumping, limit the surge into the system so you're not getting water hammer. We have that at most of our wells. And then finally, we have a new PG&E transformer so we can get power supply to our electric motors for all the pumps that we're planning to install. Then we can go to the next slide for the elevations. So this is kind of what you'll see from the street. From the Fifth Street elevation, you can see the buildings, and we've done our best to incorporate new trees to kind of make the site aesthetically pleasing. Access to the site is on Park Street, so you can see the driveway here with two 20-foot wide gates. That's how our operators will be able to access the site for monitoring equipment maintenance and also chemical deliveries when we need to add to the chemical tanks that are going to be at the site. I think that's it for the design. Go to the next slide. So the tentative schedule for this project is to complete the design early next year and then have permitting complete by early 2025. As Tiffany mentioned earlier, there's significant permitting that still needs to be done with regards to CEQA, DEW. They have their own permitting process that we have to go through with the fire department, etc. So that will take about a year. Construction will be complete late 2025 and will be in service early 2026, providing water to our customers. So I'll open the floor for questions now.
I think we have two here, and then we can go to Elaine.
Okay, thank you so much for the information. I have a couple of questions and clarification, and one of the person already mentioned some of it. The first one is, do you have detailed potential impacts of this project on the residential population composition, like by age and by health situation? What the percentage of people are children in this area, and what the health situation? Did you try to make any assessment how this project could have impact on those population? And the second one is I just worried about the long-term impact of this plant in the middle of the residential area, which we never imagined. We own property, and we are a little bit worried, concerned, honestly, even taxpayers. And what is the potential impact of the property value or our property value of this plant in the future? So it's just three: the long-term health impact of this project on us, this collective impact on the different population subgroups, like by health and by age. Do you have any information on that? And what's the potential property value impact of this project on us, on the residential people who are living around this project area?
Yeah, I think
Demographic.
yeah. At this stage in the project, we did not look at demographic specific impacts of a new well. The intent of the project, again, was to provide reliability to the system. And as Don mentioned earlier, we, throughout the districts, throughout the state of California that we own and operate, there are wells in residential areas. Some of them are inside of old houses. We have booster stations and pump stations that are kind of disguised like that. But yeah, it's very common for wells to be in residential areas. And in terms of impacts to property value, that is not an analysis I've done. I don't think that it's, yeah, we're not, home appraisers, and we typically don't do that type of analysis for these sorts of projects. So yeah, I guess it's my answer to those questions.
We have questions in here before we take this. Oh, I thought. There were, yeah. I remember seeing earlier.
Yeah, let's see, where will we start with this? I came a little late, so,
Could you speak a little bit louder just so that people on Zoom can hear you as well?
yeah, that'd be my first complaint would be, I think the acoustics are terrible. I mean, I think you guys should have done a little bit better job with the speaker, because we cannot hear what people are saying, the ones that are talking online. So I think it should have been a little bit better system, so that we can all hear. We're all straining to see what has been said, so that everybody can understand. So that's the point. Why is there a need for such a thing around here in a cumulative way? Maybe you already explained that, but it's not clear to me why this is actually needed here.
In her house.
No, in the system in general, I mean, why do we need it?
Yeah, I guess you explained it
Well,
yourself.
we did spend a little bit, a chunk of time on this at the very beginning, and I can talk to you maybe more in detail about it later. The major reason is that we are so reliant on one source of supply, and which is SFPUC. And that one source of supply means that nothing can ever go wrong. They can't ever have to shut down their water. Or they can't ever decide that they need that water for San Francisco and cut us back, which gets talked about a lot. So there's a lot of reasons why we're not confident the supply that we have is gonna be there forever and every minute of every day. So we need to it's like stocks. We need to diversify our portfolio. We need to make sure that we have sources of supply that we can mix and match and meet whatever might come our way to make sure that our customers stay in water.
Interesting. I know that the SFPUC has our water allocation for this area already taken care of. And they just put in a new system about, they just finished it like 5 years ago, where they redid the entire piping, which is pretty reliable. I mean, that was the whole thing that they spent like over $2 billion redoing this thing, so precisely for that it would be redundant system, so we would be probably dependent on them, but reliable. That was the whole.
The infrastructure is actually very good. The concern is the water they put into the pipe. So there's no guarantee if we hit another big drought that we're gonna actually be allowed to take as much water as we've taken in the past. And also I mentioned a situation where they actually put raw water, not treated water in the main, and we had to shut it down. So there's more maintenance is coming down the pipe. So we can't always be 100% confident that the water that we get from them is always gonna be there.
I would differ with that, but okay. How big of a pump are you planning to put? How many horsepower are we talking about?
We're not expecting that much flow, so I can't see it being any more than 30 horsepower.
Okay, so the water that you're pumping out, so you're selling it to SFPUC or you're selling it to us? How is that?
Yeah, it's Cal water, and if it gets used, the customer who uses that water will pay for it, just like they would with our normal.
Okay, so I would say as a comment that the aquifers are failing all around us. So I'm not sure that actually go back a bit. You mentioned that there was starting to stand about the different areas that are that potential for being, a good place to put this thing. And you mentioned that you might have done some studies about that. in the areas, different areas, they're asking why here. And so where else did you do those studies? And if you can actually have access to those documents.
I don't know why not, but I'm not the one who would make that decision. They did a study in the whole Bear Gulch area to see where, the aquifer, where they made the aquifers and how much water we might be able to get from all of them. The best place is this area here, closer to the bay, a little bit closer to the bay, versus up in the mountains next to the San Francisco Creek. So where the groundwater comes together.
One thing I think to amplify on that, and probably why we're all here is, there's the residential area, but if you go just a few blocks away, it's a little bit more industrial, and so that might have been a better location. But we were wondering if you would survey that area, or is it so narrow that you can only drill within like a couple block radius or like a few feet?
We looked everywhere. We considered a lot of different locations and a lot of different places, and when properties were up for sale at the time, those are the ones that we considered. And this is the one that we found that met our criteria.
I have a question about the aquifer. How close are you to brackish water? Because if you brackish water,
It makes it
because then I know Hawaii has problems with taking water and then the salt water comes in and runs their aquifers.
Yeah.
So have you any
Yes.
research on that?
We have a water resources department that does look into that. In fact, there are some thoughts that maybe we could drill some wells, not necessarily here in this district, but along this area where we can actually get the brackish water and treat that. Because we're so desperate for water that we're actually now considering very energy efficient, very energy intense methods of getting water to just completely diversify. But so yes, no, we're not concerned at this point, and we're working with we've been working for 10 years since I've been here with the county that oversees the management of the groundwater basin. This basin that we're in right now, I don't remember the terminology, but it's not considered a groundwater basin that's in critical. Like it's not one that they're having to do a lot of planning and guarding around at this point. But there are entities who monitor that, and we definitely are aware of what's going on there.
Is this going to be considered almost like a pilot project, and you'll be looking for other sites to drill wells to support it again? If the goal is to diversify the water sourcing, as you said earlier, this maybe 1%, if that, of your requirements. Does that mean you're looking for more wells in the region?
Absolutely, we will be looking for more wells in the region. Absolutely. Yes.
Sure.
Danny, you can unmute yourself.
All right. Hi again. Well, basically, I wanted to say that I'm practically going to be really close to where this plant is going to be. So you guys are on one corner, I would be probably on the opposite corner diagonally. And I will have a great view of your plant from one of my windows. And as a resident, I mean, I'm all for your project, but I'm really not for it in our residential area. It's great that you guys want to do that, and I know also that California is offering a lot of stipends and so forth to find other sources of water. But I worry about the impact on our homes, and I think if I were to be looking for a home, I wouldn't want to buy a home near a plant. So that is a major concern for me. Like if we ever did want to sell our home, who's going to want to buy it? So for somebody, for the city trying to approve the project, I hope that they listen to these concerns, because I'm not the only one with them. I'm sure, everybody who's there right now at the meeting is definitely probably has the same kind of concerns. Our health, our children, we're all family homes. We have a lot of concerns. pets as well, you know, and if you guys had a leak, you know, I think that would be horrible. And I honestly think, again, the smells, if you had a leak coming out of that place and the chemicals coming out would be really bad for us. So as a resident, and so close to this plant, you know, I'm really not for it.
Just to be clear, this is not gonna treat any wastewater, right? This is only pure well water.
Yeah, the chemicals that are on site are the chemicals that we drink every day. So they're not super hazardous.
I'm
toxic.
sorry, I'm sorry, I'm gonna interrupt you, sorry, a second. Okay, maybe right now you wouldn't treat any wastewater, let's say, but what if later on they said, hey, you know, why don't you guys start treating that? Would that be a possibility too? Later pull out some permits and let's do this?
No, we don't have, we're a potable water company, so we don't treat wastewater in the state of California. That's not our business. And if there were modifications to the operation of the site, we would have to apply for an amendment to the conditional use permit and start the process over again. So that wouldn't be a concern.
Thank you. I was just gonna say, I know a lot, I'm sure, I know this isn't what you want to hear. This has been in my experience, that, actually a lot of our neighbors end up really loving us. We're quiet, we don't throw parties, we have people maintain our properties. We have someone visit it every single day. We're actually really good at making sure that we landscape in a way that is pleasing to our neighbors. We're very attentive to that. So I know, there's a lot of scary uncertainties ahead looking at this in this meeting. But I can, you know, speak from the experiences that we've had in other districts that, we're good neighbors.
So that's a residential, but it's not industrial. What if you look at industrial location? That's a residential. Nothing to do with that.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear.
I think that we're in a residential area, and it seems to be more like a utility or an industrial type operation. So why again in the middle of it? I think you answered that.
It should be,
I mean, I wish we could. That would be our preference because we wouldn't
You have to
have
deal with us.
people who are concerned, but it's coming from a really real place, you know, I understand that. I don't want that to,
So it's disappointing when you said you hadn't considered the demographics of property values. That was hard for me to hear.
So,
And I'm driving here, I came down Edison Way, and right down the corner of Edison Way in Second was a little property for sale. And that's an industrial area, so you do have other choices.
so as you get, I know as you get further away from San Francisco Creek, the predictions of finding water is less and less. It was on that. I don't, and I can guarantee it wasn't for sale when we first.
So this is how these things go.
We do have two hands on Zoom raised right now, so before we take your questions, we're gonna take the two calls on Zoom. Rudy, please unmute.
Yes, can you hear me?
We can hear you, Rudy.
Yeah, so I'm sorry I'm coming into this meeting very late, but the only thing I was questioning is how do we stop this from going forward? Do we have to write a lot of letters? Do we have to picket? What do we have to do? Because I'm totally against it, and I just want to cut to the chase and go right to the source and go, you know, how do we stop this from happening?
I'll explain the process again. Right now, there's no use permit in. This is just a pre-application project. It's not, they haven't submitted the use permit. This is to get public comment. So there is no, there's nothing to stop because nothing is happening yet.
Okay.
Yes.
So then if we're against it, how many people have to raise their hand before you guys realized that this isn't a good idea?
Right now, the public comments here, we're taking public comments, like your comments, so that Water can evaluate them. And, I don't know, maybe make changes depending on that. They will take the comments and try to address them. So, if you take it as right now, there's nothing to stop because there's nothing going on yet.
I realize that. So then how many, how many, how many,
I think you might have missed the first part of it, but part of the initial presentation, or for anyone else that might have just joined a little later, was kind of the process after this pre-application workshop process, which this process itself is going to generate a summary letter of summarizing all of the comments that have been heard tonight, and some additional ones from other reviewing agencies. But should the applicant decide to file that use permit application, there's nothing that the county can't prohibit someone from making an application. And so if they decide to file the application, the use permit process, Tiffany explained a little earlier, but is a public hearing process. And so there would be various, there's milestones in that process that re-engage the public and get input before a decision is rendered, but the decision is a public hearing level decision. So it goes before the zoning hearing officer of the county, and they will, it's their duty or role to take into consideration into their decision public comment along with other factors.
so how much public comment has to be voiced before they actually listen?
I mean, there's no threshold, there's no bar, and if you have comments, definitely you would want to voice them either in writing or attending the hearing, so that they can consider those comments. But it's up to that decision maker.
Okay. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Mesky. Mesky, please unmute. Mesky, if you can hear me, please unmute.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes, Mesky,
Yeah.
we can hear you.
Okay, thank you so much. So thank you for all the information, but as we have realized, this is not an addition to our neighborhood. This is actually like a health risk, health hazard for us, for our children, and also a loss in our property value. So at all, this is like a bad thing for us, and we are unhappy about it. Personally, I'm very, very much concerned, and I can see a lot of people are also unhappy. So what I offer to my neighbors is like, I'm up for it. Like tomorrow, I can sign a petition. We can go to the county. We should do what it takes to prevent this risky project from coming to our neighbors. So I just want to say we have to stand up. We have to organize and do what it takes to stop this project from becoming a reality. So please come knock my door. I'll come knock your door. So let's do what it takes to stop this from happening again. Thank you very much.
I think I'd just like to address the hazardous part one more time. Again, the chemicals that we're storing here are in extremely small quantities. There's no risk of a leak that causes some sort of impact to the neighbors. We have secondary containment, it's inside a building. We have drains that are there to divert that. If there were a leak outside of the secondary containment, which is redundancy there, then that would drain straight into the sanitary sewer. So there's a lot of measures that will take to mitigate any sort of impacts to the community. I hear and understand the concern of the property values and we will definitely take that and keep that in mind, in terms of how we intend to landscape the project. As Don mentioned, we're great neighbors. We make sure that we keep our area clean, and presentable and well manicured and well landscaped. We are a company with a lot of resources, so we can make sure that our properties are looking their best. So I just wanted to speak to that.
In the back.
Yeah.
Fred?
Gentleman in the back has-
Yes, I have a couple of questions. Thank you for your presentation, for your time. My first question is there similar plans in the area already so that we could have reference in terms of the noise or the nuisance around?
Not in this district. There would be some, I mean, let's see, a lot of water companies do. We have some up in the Bay Shore district in San Mateo area and in Los Altos, we have some there too. So we could definitely come up with some options for you. I'd have to do some digging though.
Yeah, thank you. My second question is, who will maintain or inspect the project for safety and how often, and will there be a person on the site?
Actually, if I can go back real quick, we have lots of pump stations in the district that have pumps. And they are in neighborhoods all throughout the district, and I could get you some of those. They would be pumps, a lot of them much larger than the ones we're thinking about for the well. But as far as a well station, we need to go to another city, but we do have pumps. So I just want to say that.
I want to also answer a little bit about the first part, the noise. The county does have a noise ordinance and they would have to adhere to it. Did she say that? Wait, the county has a noise ordinance and they have to adhere.
Okay. And we're used to doing that too. We're used to doing sound studies and having someone come and evaluate what the sound would be at different locations and what we can do to help mitigate that. That's normal for us. Okay, sorry, I was thinking about that when you were talking. The second part of your question was.
Yeah, so the other question was if there's going to be an employee on site and or who will maintain and inspect the project and how often?
Inspect the project, like during construction or after?
No, after
After?
construction, maybe for safety purposes.
Yeah, so we have a pump operator go to that station every day. And just make sure that they take their readings of, the readings of what's happening there, electricity, water, this, that, and the other. They report on it every day. But part of the reason why we have them go every day is just to make sure that, the fence isn't falling down and cleanliness is something need to be swept up, or leaves or trees, is there a branch falling? So we have someone go every day.
And just finally, I wanted to chime in on the sentiment that is palpable in the community. As you have noticed, we're very concerned about the equity and environmental justice issues of this project. That in addition to the quality of life impacts made by property values increase, etc. And the reason why people are concerned, why we are concerned is because historically projects that are noisy or polluting are pushed into these very type of impoverished communities of color that have no economic or political power to prevent things from happening. And the reason why our community is dissected by 2 train tracks, the HHE, and a related industrial area, in several things, is the very concern that we all have about this project, because I am part of the council, the Northwest Council, and you have no idea how many other projects we have trying to do away with, because we seem to be a magnet for unwanted projects that other communities would not allow. Other surrounding communities, and I think that is, the very, sentiment that people are having.
I can see why you might have that feeling. I mean, I want to let you know. Our decision on this location, is not based on what you're saying. It is based on going back to that geologic report. We have some property in Atherton where our field yard is. And we look to see, we ask the geologist, can we drill there? There's just no water under there for us to drill in. But I hear what you're saying. I do.
So just to echo what Edward just said, and I was about to mention the same thing. For this community, we aren't against development, improvements, things like that. What we need to see are the benefits to the community, the actual impact, the numbers. That's one of the asking earlier. How much water is it actually going to produce? What's the impact? What's the value on that? And that's how we're going to be kind of looking at. We can help you get onto this project going well if we can get like hard data and evidence to say this is the actual impacts. Like, I know, you said that it's not hazardous and things like that, but when people hear chemicals or treatment, obviously we're not scientists, we don't know. So if you talk about it's, maybe a fish tank full, or, this is how much you're gonna use and that sort of thing. I agree with that. And so the other area that I was gonna actually ask a little bit more about was logistics. So you said you're gonna have people coming every day to the site to look at it, chemical deliveries, things like that. I don't know if you've been in the area, but that intersection is a massive traffic problem because of Middlefield, because of the train tracks and all of that. So wanted to ask a little bit more on how that's being planned for. And then the other one was utility services that you're gonna put in. You mentioned a PG&E transformer box. Are you planning on undergrounding the lines over there, or is this more on the overhead connections, things like that?
Have you put that?
So yeah,
And I know it's very early, so you gotta finalize the plans. This would be an input or something, so things that we'd like to see in a nicer neighborhood, we're pushing that. So.
yeah, no, and I understand that, and with regards to the chemicals, I think we would be providing kind of safety data sheets and technical specifications to the fire department and the county as part of the application process moving forward.
So again, I'm not saying what you're gonna do to the government and stuff, because we're not experts. We're not gonna be able to read those sheets. It's something more in a plain language.
Yeah.
I hear what you're saying. I do.
Yeah, and again, these are just, I know you don't have this right now today, but you're probably gonna wanna do another one of these sessions. I can tell you an example. When we had the Middlefield Road project going through, there was 4 or 5 community sessions to get it done. And I highly recommend engaging the community over time and bringing more information to us. Otherwise, there's gonna be a lot of pushback on this project. It already is.
No.
Yeah, no, it's great insight. With regards to the PG&E transformer, because it's so early on, we haven't engaged with them yet. We don't know what their availability is in terms of underground or above ground electrical supply and where we get it. Yeah. The pump would be too much power to get it.
Building the batteries.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great, we have some callers on Zoom. Kathleen, please unmute and begin speaking.
Hi, thank you for an opportunity. My colleagues on the community council are both there, Ever and Niket. So I'm just going to add to being a member of the North Fair Oaks Community Council, living just a few blocks away. I apologize, I didn't hear all of the earlier presentation, but my first question is why that site? Was the land cheap? And it would have been a great place for, housing, but instead we're going to get something. So if there's some geographical water reason that it needs to be there, I'd kind of like to know that. I drive through a lot of North Fair Oaks or walk through a lot of North Fair Oaks. what I would consider north of Fifth Avenue, there's a ton of industrial sites mixed in, Spring, a lot of places where something like this would make more sense. Neighbors wouldn't be affected. It's more of an industrial kind of feel than Fifth Avenue. Once again, I'd also like to ask you if you could give us at least 3 different sites where they are on the peninsula, so we can go look and see what the buildings look like, see what they sound like, and get a better sense of what it's going to be. I know a friend of mine did share with me that she's seen the buildings that are surround these pumps with, that looks like a regular house. And so it kind of blends in with the neighborhood. But I think if I were a direct neighbor, I would be super unhappy and I would continue to come to these meetings. So I really don't think we have enough information about why it needs to be there. And I apologize for my dog.
Yeah, so we did mention this earlier on in the meeting. We had a hydrogeologist do a well siting analysis. And the location was determined by the availability of land in an area where we can access water from the aquifer. So it is based on the availability of groundwater in that location and where we were able to purchase land. Nothing to do with the specific cost of that land, just that there was a property available within that aquifer, and that was one of the properties. So hope that answered that question.
Our next speaker on Zoom is Rudy, and that will be followed by the lady in the back in person. Rudy, please unmute.
Yes. So I agree with Kathleen Daly. I'd like to know where the other pump stations are to see what the housekeeping looks like in those areas. And then also I'd like to know what's the GPM per day that you're planning on pumping, and then how many amps is that GPM pulling, because I want to know if that's going to affect our electricity on times of constraints, especially in the summertime.
Yes, we can get you addresses of some of our stations on the peninsula and in the district, pump stations in the district, but some well stations on the peninsula. As far as
the well GPM, we did discuss it earlier. It's very preliminary estimates because again, it's based on surrounding wells. We won't know how much until we actually drill the well, but we expect 120 gallons per minute, which is about 350,000 to 700,000 gallons per day.
How much was that again? 700 what?
700,000 gallons per day.
Okay.
And then
go ahead.
With regards to the electrical capacity, we will have to do pump sizing for the motor and the pump itself. Again, everything's very preliminary, so we haven't gotten to that stage of the design. But rough estimate, we would expect a 30 horsepower motor. I'm not an electrical engineer, but I would feed that information to our electrical team, and then they would size the electrical service if required. Once we get to that step, I mean, we'll have that information before the public hearing.
Yeah, that 30 horsepower motor for 700,000 gallons doesn't sound correct to me. And I think it's going to be a lot higher than that. And the amperage that you guys are going to draw for that pump for 700,000 gallons a day is going to be substantial. So I think the residents will see a decrease in the amperage to their housing. And I would probably venture to say that PG&E would probably look at that and say, oh, well, these people are actually using too much energy, and they'll probably increase their PG&E. And that's not a good thing. And I know this because I went to a town meeting about our sewer, where Redwood City's been building, houses, or not housing, but apartments after apartments. And I've seen 8 cranes building, 5-6 story apartment complexes. And I went to a town meeting about the sewer line, and they increased it. And they said it was only fair for everybody to absorb this amount. So I'm very concerned that they're going to do the same thing when that pump station comes up and running again.
And thank you for your comments, and we'll definitely make a note of it. as a reference, you know, in other stations and wells that we have in the state, it's not uncommon. A good well could be 1,000 gallons a minute. And so you can imagine that the pump size is going to be significantly larger than something for 120 gallons per minute. And we haven't had challenges with the electricity for those pumps as of yet. So I don't know if that will help be comforting, but we'll definitely look into the comments and concerns that you brought to our attention.
I want to say that we started 15 minutes late, so we only have 15 more minutes just for time. We're just doing time check. If you do have additional comments, you can email us, or people here can do the comment cards, and then for Zoom, I think I don't know if you guys got the notification, like the notices in the letter, but they're in my email there. So you can email me any comments, and I will get that to Cal Water. But yeah, 15-minute check.
Yeah. I think getting the locations for similar pumps would be great, but I really would like to emphasize that we should not compare apples. I want to make sure that it's apples to apples, the comparison. So it would be great if you can give us locations where there is a water well and pumps similar to what we're planning for our site. And it doesn't have to be, you know, next door. Most of us have cars and you can drive, and we're interested in this topic, obviously. So we would welcome the opportunity to go and listen. I think it honestly can benefit your project, because if it truly is not a nuisance to the neighbors, you will probably have less resistance from the community. So I think that would be greatly appreciated. But something that you keep mentioning is that we're so close to the San Francisco Creek, and it's not within walking distance to us right here. And I mean, I can tell you the San Francisco Creek is so much closer to the area that, you know, that is part of the Bear Gulch district in Menlo Park or Huntington. So when you say that this is the place where you can get the most water, that was from the land that was available, it's hard for us to believe that completely. Another thing that I think is important to consider is that lot had a functional home when we purchased it, and it was demolished. So to us in the community, this was one house that was lost. And now, in addition to losing one house that was in decent condition, it was old, but it was livable. We're losing one house, and we're getting something that the community does not want. And it doesn't look, from the description of the project, it doesn't look like it's something that is gonna benefit this community. Not when it comes to noise pollution, not you know, in any way. So, when we're thinking about all these concerns, we are speaking from the experience of having been in this neighborhood for many years and seeing project after project that, as ever mentioned, would not be allowed anywhere else in surrounding communities, but it gets allowed in North Fairhope. And most of us that are here today, and those that are probably visiting on Zoom, are probably tired of that by now, and we're ready to act. And so I feel like most of us finally are realizing that environmental justice is an issue that is more in the public awareness now. And I'm glad that it is, because I feel like in North Carolina, we have suffered from the injustices with regards to environmental justice for far too long. And we have, as a community, we don't want to continue with that anymore. When it's now finally being looked at, you know? And so, as much information as you can provide, if it's truly gonna be a beneficial project, I think it can only help to give us more information so that we can get behind it. Or at least not resist it. But I hope that all of you can listen to us, you know, where it's nothing against each of you personally. It's just that we're coming from a position of being in this community that it feels like we're being dumped on time after time for, you know, many decades. And so it's just not right to continue with that. And especially when the things that you're saying may make sense to people like you who know about water aquifers and all that. But I'm just thinking San Francisco Creek was not run for our community. The district encompasses all these wealthy neighborhoods. And the only one that is getting the first water well in this whole district is in North Fairways. That just looks pretty bad.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, and I can tell you, when we purchased the property, we looked everywhere. If we didn't just focus on North Fair Oaks, the aquifer is better as you get closer to San Francisco, and if we could have found a property and put it there, we all would have rather done that, because according to our consultants, it's more there. So I hear what you're saying. I hope you didn't hear me say there was more water in this area. It was just when we did the study, this is where we landed.
Well, you know, what it sounds like, that's what I'm hearing from you, sounds like it's cheaper to put it here than it is to go there. We all know the property value.
Yeah.
I'll put it right out in front. This area is probably one of the most affordable areas in the whole peninsula.
I can tell you, I wasn't involved in the actual like budgeting of the property. I can tell you, it was not cheap. It was very expensive, and so I don't.
I'm sorry.
You might know I'm saying that I can't speak to that, but what you're saying doesn't not make sense, right? But I want to let you know that was never an intention.
And so again, I think it comes back to when you tell that you were surveying sites and what's available, when you put the available qualifier, we all know that availability in this area is much more attractive for private companies. We've had this problem with home developers, we've had this problem with utilities, we've had this problem across the board. Because it's cheaper, businesses see it as a lower end on the bottom line. And then when they say it's just because it's available, that's available within the budget that they put. And that's what we hear. So again, having some data on what sites were surveyed, cost, do some analysis. It's not cheap, but if it's incrementally more expensive, if you go Clifford Menlo or Atherton, smaller plot or something like that, a long-term value might be there. And you might get more water out of it, so there might be some better benefits that way. We'd love to see some of those analysis.
Something I want to make sure.
Yeah.
If the decibel level would be very useful for us when it comes to the noise of the pump, and also if it's gonna be 24 hours, it's different than if it's only gonna be during the day. So that all that information I think would be essential for us, and also the risk that we run with settling of the soil once you start pumping that water for all of it. So if you've done any analysis of that, or if you have information, that would be really useful.
Yeah, absolutely. And once we do size the pump, then we'll be able to provide information on what kind of noise we would expect through those sound studies. Yeah.
And I just want to, sorry, real quick, I know I jumped back to the study because that's what I know. But what I want to say is really thank you for sharing your thoughts. you know, when we go to a public meeting, we're not really sure what the concerns of the community are gonna be until we get there, and I wish I had that knowledge before and I could come prepared with everything to make everybody feel totally happy. But I just thank you for your concern, thank you for your comments, thank you for your backgrounds, and your honesty. I do appreciate that, and we'll see what we can find to help answer your question.
Yeah, I think like Nicole mentioned earlier, this is gonna be an iterative process, so we'll get feedback, provide as much information as we can moving forward for sure.
Yeah, basically.
My question, my name is Teresa Lopez, and I live here on Fifth Avenue. All my concerns are the same as what were expressed previously regarding our community. But my main question, or like to say a fly in the soup, is funding. Are we, the homeowners, the property taxes, are we gonna have to pay for this? In our property taxes is a question, who's funding this? You know, is it at the end of the day, it's gonna show up on our property taxes, like you said, in our water, and the water bill.
So not property taxes. So this project would be evenly distributed among all 16,800 customers in the Bear Gulch district. And then it comes down to, you know, we have the tiers, the individuals who use more water end up paying more, people who use less water end up paying less. But it is, and that's what's kind of nice about having a district that has more customers in it, is those costs get spread out evenly among everybody.
So our water rates would be increased.
It would be very, very.
And the other concern is traffic, you know, we're very congested here. Everest is right there, the Everest High School, and at the time of traffic, or the school comes in and comes out, there is a lot of traffic. So just be aware of that, people coming in and out of their properties, trying to get through with the kids on bicycles or walking. You take that into consideration as well.
Absolutely, our pump operators are some of the nicest guys I've ever met, and they're definitely conscientious about, we have facilities around schools all the time, and they're gonna wanna avoid those areas as much as possible. Anyway, as much as it's being courteous.
Because we have someone on Zoom, Noemi, please unmute.
Okay, my other question is, when you guys drill for the water, how many feet would you be drilling?
Do we know that?
And then I have another question with that, after that, once you answer me that question.
Yeah, I should have put that on here. I apologize for not putting that information. I don't want to speak, I don't want to say the wrong number, but I do have that information, at least in preliminary design, what we expected the depth to be.
We can incorporate that into the summary letter that comes out, if we can.
Yeah, that'd be great, yeah.
Other information has been asked.
Yeah.
Okay, and then I was gonna say, let's just say that you guys drill like 100 feet to get this water, right? So if somebody has a well and they're irrigating with it, you guys are probably gonna drill way further than these wells have been drilled to find water. Would that eliminate the water for all of these people that have these small?
That's a really good question.
Sorry.
Yeah, I answered.
Oh, you can answer it.
Okay, so, the well would definitely be deeper than 100 feet, because we're not gonna wanna go close to the surface. We're gonna wanna be in a portion of the aquifer that protects anything that might spill on the ground from getting into the water that we're pumping. So it would have to be from a protected area. No, it shouldn't, and we know this because we have wells that are very close together, and sometimes we know that there can be interference. There shouldn't be any interference between this location and anything else in the area. It'd be too far. Especially at the volume.
Private wells.
It didn't be any wells, because like I said, we have wells that are close to each other, we kind of know what the proximities are. We wouldn't expect there to be any interference in the drawdown, because it draws down to a certain radius around the well, and then after that, it's the same level, no matter where you are. And we wouldn't expect that cone of influence or that cone of depression to be close enough to any of the other wells in the area.
So you surveyed for like homeowners who put like a small well in their yard?
To be honest, for our black backflow program, that is something we actively look for. Not that we know where all of them are, we still find some sometimes that we, but we do have to know where the county knows.
Yeah, and that's another thing is, I think that this would have to go through the county, at least environmental health department for review, and that's one of the things that they look at among other things, but one of the things is, they're looking at proximity to other wells, creeks, anything like that.
They're the keeper of the basin, or they're the gatekeeper.
Okay, so I will say that we're at 7:46 right now, for people in the room, I will ask if you haven't to sign a sign-in sheet, and if you provide your email, we can, or your address, we can send you the summary letter when that goes out. And then for the people that are on Zoom, sorry, we couldn't get them to chat with me. But if you send any, also if you want to send more comments, you can write the comment letters in the comment sheet, and then you can also email me. I'm gonna put my email up on the screen. So that everybody on Zoom and in the audience can see it. Just gonna end this, and then I'm going to add a slide with just my email. So that you can send me any comments that didn't get incorporated.
And how would we see the answers to the questions, that were not answered today?
We may not have answers right now, but I will send the comments to Cal Water, because this is something. So the purpose of this meeting is to get all of those comments that you guys gave, because it's very valuable to them to see how they can move forward with their project. So if you have like concerns like, oh, I'd rather you guys not put that building, I want it to look more like a house or something, that was very interesting, that I didn't know that like Los Angeles did. Like that kind of comment you can give to me and it will get to them. Yeah, so this is my email. I work for the San Mateo County Planning Department, and I'm working on this project. So if you guys in the chat also want the summary letter, email me and ask for it as well.
And then we'll just send it to us for me.
For you guys, there, it's just on Zoom to be honest, they put it right on the sign-in sheet.
And what about the recording of this Zoom meeting?
Where
will it be, or how can you get access to it so we can forward it to other neighbors?
We can either find a way to put it on the website or distribute it out, share it with anyone who's provided a contact info.
Maybe we can give it to North just there, make sure so they can share it.
Yeah, just make sure to, put a contact.
Yeah, so that she get it to you
can actually get it to you.
Yeah. And then, everybody on Zoom, you can see my email. If you have questions, please have a comment, you want the summary letter, whatever, you can send to me, okay? We do have to get out of here soon because we did book this place only till 8. So thank you everybody for coming, and thank you for everybody on Zoom that participated.
Thank you all for coming. Thanks for your feedback and input. Appreciate it.
Thank you.